Hey, good morning or good afternoon or good evening to you, depending on what part of the world you are joining us from. This is the information session for the Doctor of Physiotherapy. And my name's Associate Professor Karen Donald. I'm the course coordinator for the Doctor of Physiotherapy programme. And I'm absolutely delighted that you're able to join us today. I will start off the proceedings, and then I'll be followed by a few of our students who are going to talk to you. I know they're the people that you most want to hear from, so I won't talk for too long. Now, of course, I want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I'm joining you from, which is the land of the Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung people. And I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners, the elders, past, present, and emerging. So as I said, today, I'm going to give an overview of the course that will be followed up by two of our students, Maddie and Anusha, here to speak to you. Please feel free to ask questions and we will be able to answer them live. So we're hoping really just to talk for about the first 30 minutes and then have the final 30 minutes for questions and answers. The session today will be recorded, and so you'll be sent a link to the recording tomorrow. So don't worry if you miss any of these slides, you can catch up on the recording. So you're thinking about physiotherapy, which is great. But you're thinking about physiotherapy at the University of Melbourne, which is even better because we've got a really great programme here at the University of Melbourne. It was Australia's first graduate entry masters, and it's at the AQF, which is the Australian Qualification Framework Level 9E, which is just below a PhD, and it started in 2021. It's more than 10 years old now, so that date's wrong. I'm not quite sure. We've just graduated our 10th group from the Doctor of Physiotherapy programme. Of course, the University of Melbourne itself is ranked #1 in Australia and number 14 globally. And the degree, the Doctor of Physiotherapy master's degree, is potentially a portable one to lots of different countries and allowing you to work internationally. And if that's something that you think that you would like to do, it's really important you check with your own country or the country you intend to work in's registration body. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on in the programme is the diversity of students that come to the programme, and that's mainly because of our criteria for entry to the programme, which is a prerequisite in human anatomy and a prerequisite in human physiology, and beyond that you can really come with any background at all. So we have people coming from financial and business backgrounds, from the arts, from science, from sports medicine, from kinesiology, of course. And that mix creates a really diverse and vibrant student group. And of course, we are based in the Parkville campus. It's a really vibrant university campus. The background of my screen is one of our newer buildings, Melbourne Connect. But the campus itself sits right in the heart of the city, but also it sits right in the heart of a biomedical precinct. So we're surrounded by some of our clinical partners, by some of our research partners. I can stand in my office and look out of my building across it at Melbourne Health and at the Royal Children's and the Royal Women's and the Royal Melbourne Hospital and Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. And so that's just a few of the people that we partner with who are really right on our doorstep. Now, you might be thinking about physiotherapy and looking around and at other universities, and of course you should do that. And I'm really here to tell you about our programme and potentially point out some of the points of difference between our programme and some of the others. So in the Doctor of Physiotherapy at the University of Melbourne, you're learning from absolute experts in the clinical field. So many of our teachers are working clinically as well as working academically. and can bring real life examples to the classroom and to share with you, and that's really useful for your learning. But equally, our staff are researching, and of course we have those who are absolute teaching and learning experts too, to make sure that the content is being delivered in a way that's really useful and helpful for you to engage with. And now we cover lots of different areas in physiotherapy in our program. So we cover physiotherapists both in the hospital and the community-based settings, and they cover all the specialities that you might see in those sorts of areas. So neurological conditions, cardiorespiratory conditions, musculoskeletal, sports, women's health, and of course we go across the lifespan. So we're treating preterm babies right up to older adults, and that lifespan aspect is embedded right throughout the course. And I have to say that's a really key difference of our program, that you will get pediatrics, you will get a pediatric placement, and that you will get content and opportunities for clinical placements in women's health, if that is an interest of yours, and you don't see that in every program. Our program's a 3-year program, and you might be looking at other master's programs that are 2 years. And the reason ours is 3 years is not just about making sure that we turn out really fantastic practitioners, which of course we do, but we really consider our program as preparing the next leaders. So whether that's a leader in industry, in the healthcare industry, in the physiotherapy profession, or a leader in academia, or a leader in research, or a leader in public health. And we have subjects that absolutely support that. So we have a subject called Health Leadership and Digital Innovation that Anusha and Maddie are taking right now. We have subjects in strength and conditioning, which we know is really key area now and important for you to be prepared in that area. Healthcare and context is a fantastic subject that allows you in small groups to engage with all sorts of different diverse communities and really supports your development as an advocate and a leader in the space. And of course, our research capstone in your final year really sets you up to think about quality assurance, to think about research, and really vital skills, regardless of whether you're going to be a practitioner, an academic, or a researcher. We also have opportunities within the programme for you to choose your own adventure. And this comes in a subject in the final year, in the final semester, integrated professional practice, where you have a choice of advanced modules. So you can say, for example, I'm really interested in private practice, and you can pick up a module in private practice and maybe one in extended strength and conditioning for elite sports people. You can pick up something in advanced rehab, or you might say, I'm really interested in women's health. And again, that might mean you do the private practice module, or you pick up specific modules in women's health. You can then align those interests with a career selective, so a 4-week placement that I'll talk about in a little while, that aligns to those aspirations that you have for your future careers. So you get a really, really good grounding in this program. It's a really excellent program to, as I say, prepare you to be an excellent practitioner. But as I say, in our program, we go beyond that. It's about setting you up for leadership in those really key areas. Now, another really key part of our program that's different from other ones is the number of clinical hours that we have. So we have around 1,200 clinical hours and practical experience, and those are undertaken with our very excellent clinical partners. And I'm sure Maddie and Anusha will speak to this. So we have clinical placements that may be in metropolitan, regional, rural, or interstate areas. So you will absolutely undertake a placement in all of those areas. There is an expectation with this program that you will undertake a rural placement. And I'm just going to go through some of the placements in a little bit more detail. So in year one, in second semester of year one, you undertake what we call a professional practice placement. It's really just an observational placement. Quite often you're shadowing a new graduate or a grade 1 physiotherapist, so somebody quite near to you in terms of their experience, and it's an observational placement for 5 days. In year 2, this is a year that's very heavy with clinical placement content. So you can see that there are 3 subjects there, clinical practice A, B, and C, each which has 5 weeks of placements, 4 days a week. A pediatric placement, which consists of a 3-week observational placement and 1 week in the community, and a gerontology placement, which is 4 weeks of 4 days per week. And then in year 3, as I've touched on before, we have this career selective, which is 4 weeks, 4 days a week. It comes just before graduation, and it can align, as I say, with your career aspirations, perhaps an area that you want to go to. Now, the career selective, and again, it's one of the things that sets our programme apart, can absolutely be taken internationally. And so you can go to just about anywhere in the world and undertake an international placement. Now, if you happen to be an international student, you can make sure that this is the final placement that you do. You may want to undertake the placement in your home country and then stay there. And so that's a great advantage of the timing of that placement. The other placement's the work readiness placement, and just like it sounds, it's 4 weeks, 4 days a week, really making sure that you are ready to transition to practice. Now, again, one of the things that really sets us apart is our clinical partners. We have fantastic partnerships with Austin Health, Melbourne Health, St Vincent's Health, and Western Health. These are major metropolitan teaching tertiary hospitals. But we also have fantastic relationships with our rural and our regional partners and our interstate partners in the Northern Territories, for example. Partners in community settings, community schools, community health centres. And of course, we've got great partnerships with some of our specialist centres. As I said before, the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre is literally across the road from the campus, as is the Royal Women's and the Royal Children's Hospital. So lots of opportunities with big hospitals and getting to see lots of different things and experience lots of things. In terms of the programme itself, I won't go into this in too much detail, but as I said before, this is a 3-year full-time programme. It's 300 credit point, and it's what we call an entry to practice degree, which means at the end of this programme, you are eligible to be registered to practice as a physiotherapist in Australia and New Zealand. Our cohort's actually growing, and although the current cohort's about 130, it's likely that the cohort that you might be joining in 2025, it will be around 140 or 150. So we are growing our cohort and our resources and our staff correspondingly. The curriculum's really designed around 3 things, 3 roles: the self, the practitioner, and the advocate. The self is us acknowledging that you are all adult learners, you come with an undergraduate degree, and you come with lots of life experience. We hope then to give you the skills to become the practitioner, and as you advance through the programme, as I say, you develop some of those higher level skills in advocacy and leadership, for example. These 3 roles are aligned with those 9 elements there, and all of our subject intended learning outcomes relate to these 9 elements that are absolutely key to being an effective practitioner, advocate, and leader. In the first year of the programme, it's very much based in university with a lot of theory and practice, and I said just 1 week of placement. Year 2, however, is very heavy in the clinical placements, so you spend quite a lot of time there and come back to campus later in semester 2. And year 3, very much ready about getting you to progress and transition out to practice. Now, you might wonder where, once you've completed the Doctor of Physiotherapy degree, you might end up working. And what as I said before, we can say is that once you've completed this degree, you will be eligible to register and practice as a physiotherapist in Australia and New Zealand. And one of the things that a lot of applicants say to us when they're looking to come into this programme is the reason that they want to be a physiotherapist is because they're really interested in making a difference. And I think that's right, that this is a career that, you know, we can say really makes a difference to the community across the lifespan. community that's really diverse. And of course, you might work with that community in lots of different settings. So it could be in the hospital setting, and that could be public or private. It could be in the community setting, in schools, in community health centres, for example. You might choose, like me, to work in academia, although I didn't come straight to this role. I got a career as a practitioner first of all, and then moved into academia. But we certainly have students already who are interested in lecturing and in academic roles. You might decide that you really want to be a researcher and progress straight on, for example, to a higher degree, such as a master's or a PhD by research. Or, as I said, you might think that a career in public health or advocacy and some executive or leadership roles is something that interests you. And I can say that just about every single major public hospital in Melbourne has had a CEO who's a physiotherapist at some point. One of the things that COVID has definitely shown us is just how important the healthcare sector is to us, and that we really can enjoy excellent job security. Every year, the University of Melbourne Doctor of Physiotherapy graduates take out the top jobs in all of the hospitals that I've mentioned before, and many others beside. So we really have excellent employment rates with our graduates, and they're very highly considered in the profession. One of the things, of course, is really key, and it doesn't matter which of the areas that you choose to work in, you'll always be working in a team, even if that team is just you and the patient. So this is a hands-on collaborative profession. Now, a couple of key dates for you. We like to undertake an orientation day, a day where you get to meet the staff. You get an idea of what to expect and in the programme, and an orientation to the university as well, and the resources that are there. The most important thing that happens after orientation is that you can go on OCamp with your new friends and peers. And then the actual curriculum and semester one will start on the 17th of February 2025. We do tend to have quite long semesters in our programme. Each semester is generally about 14 weeks in length. So it is an extended programme beyond the standard university curriculum. There's a couple of extra dates in there, and as I say, you'll be able to check these out in the recording afterwards. Now, I'm not going to talk to this slide too much, but I'm keen to have it there as again, so that you can come back and refer to it, some information about the fees. And of course, a QR code for you to scan, and some key links there for you, whether you're a domestic or international student, about how to apply. So I've got through that in record time, which is good, because as I say, the people you really want to speak to are our students. So I'm going to introduce them, and then I'm going to stop sharing so that you can hear from them. So the first student I'd like to introduce is Maddie. She's actually the president of the Melbourne University Physiotherapy Student Society, and she's one of our third-year Doctor of Physiotherapy students. And Anusha, who's the vice president. So you're getting all the top people today of MUPS, and again, a third-year student. So as I say, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to turn off my screen and hand over to Maddie and Anusha. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Karen, for that lovely little introduction. Yes, hello, my name is Madison McAllister. My pronouns are she, her, but many people just call me Maddie. As Karen said, I'm a third-year DPT student, and I am very honoured and excited to be the president of MUPS this year. So I've been asked to come and speak to you guys just to talk about my experience throughout this course. And I wanted to start with the advice that I have for you guys. First off, just stay curious. I feel like staying curious gets you a long way in life. It means you're going to take all of the opportunities that come your way. Physio especially, as you'll learn, is not just about expertise, it's more about your empathy. If you can empathize with people along the way and build connections with people in your teams, whether they're your colleagues or your patients, that's what's going to make you an amazing physiotherapist and a health professional. And never lose sight of why you choose physiotherapy or why you've chosen this career or healthcare in general. So based on that, I'm going to start with why I chose physiotherapy. So winding back a little bit, going back quite a few years now, it feels like. So I was in year 11 and 12, I was doing all of my basic subjects, and I actually wanted to start doing music at university, and I was kind of tossing up between music and healthcare, and I had a few personal experiences happen that made me go down the healthcare route, which I'm very happy that I did, because I wouldn't be here today. But the reason that I made that decision is because I want to help people improve their quality of life. And I feel like physio specifically, the thing that I love about physio is that it gives people what they want, which is their independence. People don't really, or patients don't really mind what medications they're taking or what their x-rays look like or anything like this, but they just want to know, can I go to the bathroom? Can I get the food out of the fridge? Can I see my friends? Can I do all the things that I love in life? And that's what physiotherapy people get to give these patients. And it's so rewarding to see that happen for both the patients and for us as well. So that's why I went into physio. And then why I chose Melbourne Uni. I still remember the day I got my offer into this course. I was halfway through teaching a music lesson, because I still teach now, and I basically dropped to the floor. I was so excited. It was actually a dream come true. But the reasons I chose Melbourne, first off, I'm from Melbourne, so it's nice to stay close to mum and dad. But as Karen has said, Melbourne Uni is one of the best unis out there. And from my experience, I do truly believe that the support that we receive from the staff is phenomenal, and it's positively influenced my learning as a student and thereafter as a professional in the future. So I'm very grateful that I'm here. And I know that being at this university, I know it sounds silly, but it's going to help me get a job, which is actually kind of around the corner for me now. So we'll start applying in a few months. Yeah, but the most exciting thing about this course is always your placements. So I've done 5 placements so far. I started in St. Vincent's in ICU cardiothoracic surgery, which I loved. Then I went and did a outpatient musculoskeletal placement in a hospital, and then flipped completely and did a private practice neurological placement, which was really looking at all of our brain injuries and our strokes. Then I went to the Royal Children's Hospital, which was incredible, and I was based at the burns unit as well as the haemophilia unit, which were 2 wards that I didn't actually know that physiotherapy was so heavily involved in. But it was amazing. And then I finished down in Tassie, doing a rural placement down there, which I think Anusha might talk a little bit on later. She's our rural queen. Yeah, and then currently in 3rd year. So as Karen said, we're doing our health leadership digital innovation subject, which to me has been incredible. It's a subject that is so vital, and it's opening my eyes to all of these things that we can do as students that aren't just physio. Now I'm starting to think that, maybe I could be one of these people out there leading the hospitals or helping manage a project, or even just being a better team player in the MDT. All of these subjects are so vital. We're doing a research capstone subject at the moment, and we're actually hoping to publish our paper at the end of the year, which is very exciting, and Anusha's on my team with me. It's fantastic. And then, yeah, I guess lastly, a little bit about MUPS. So MUP stands for the Melbourne University Physiotherapy Student Society. I was the education officer last year, and then I'm the president this year, and it has been absolutely incredible. I do really believe this society gives a lot back to these students. And I love being a part of it. I feel like I've learned so many skills from being part of the team that are going to positively influence my career, because there's some skills you can't learn unless you give it a go. And MUPS is a very safe space to do that. And we get wonderful support from everyone to be able to do it. Yeah, that's basically me done. But if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. I'm very happy to answer them. But that's a brief overview of me. Anusha, do you want to talk through your experience now?
Yes, thank you, Maddie. That was fantastic to hear from you. And yeah, pretty much echo what all the things Maddie said. But also I'd like to share my experience as well. Firstly, welcome everyone to the webinar and thank you for joining in. So my name is Anusha. I'm a final year physiotherapy student as well. And in terms of what made me join Doctor of Physiotherapy program was my undergrad was in biomedical science at Deakin. And then after that, I did a year of honors project. So my honors was in physiotherapy research. So I was looking at joint replacement surgeries and osteoporosis. And that project what made me choose this degree. Although I loved the research aspect, I just wanted to work with people, just meet people every day. And I did that project during COVID time. So I think I just wanted a bit of change and actually put my research into practice. So which is why I chose DPT program. And I think, like Maddie said, Melbourne Uni has been a fantastic program, has given me a fantastic program. And I think the connections we have with all the different hospitals around metro, rural and regional has been very helpful. And the amount of support and I guess experience we get is very, very important and useful. So I think I'm very fortunate to have received the offer and enjoying the course very much. I'll talk a bit about my placements. I've had a variety of placements. So my main clinical school is Austin, and I did one of my first placements was in a general medicine ward, which is an acute setting. I also worked in the community setting within Austin, and then my third placement was within an amputee clinic, which was very eye-opening and wonderful. And I guess that placement really showed what big or a huge impact physiotherapists can make within a patient's life. So that was really fantastic. And those were my metro placements. In terms of rural, I did another placement in Mansfield, which is just near Mount Buller. And that placement was at a perfect time. I did it in June, so during the snow season. And it was really fantastic, which I enjoyed a lot. I think rural placements give you a different setting, different opportunity, more closer community setting. And you really get to know all your patients, all the staff. And yeah, the setting was really good. And then my fifth placement was in Northwest Region, Tassie. So that was my pediatric placement. And again, I had a fantastic time with the staff, with the students, and with the patients as well. And I think it really showed the rural opportunities out there, and which is a really big highlight of the course as well. You get to do all different types of placements, and you get to do private practice, public hospital, and also learn a bit about leadership, management, and also it's a really diverse course, which is really fantastic. Like Mary and Karen said, so I'm part of the MUPS. I'm the vice president, but I'm also part of the APA student committee. So I'm currently the president for the Victorian student group for APA, and we run events as well. So I think it's a great opportunity and it's important to get involved with different, I guess, extracurricular activities as well. And that really helps you grow and improve your skills and leadership skills. I think my biggest advice before applying for DPD, I guess, is definitely go through the website and handbook and see what you'll be learning and how the course structure is, and make sure you understand and know that you will enjoy the course. Again, be prepared for the commitment and learning, but also embrace the learning and opportunities that are as part of this course. There's a lot of opportunities given to you to experience leadership, management, private practice, public, and then extracurricular activities like MUPS, APA, and all. So definitely take up the opportunity and yeah, embrace the learning. as you go. And yeah, in terms of MUPS, if you need more information about day in the life of our students, feel free to have a look at our social media pages as well. But yeah, other than that, thank you. But if you guys have any questions, please let us know.
Thanks so much. I knew you would do an excellent job, both of you. And so now we're bang on time at 6:30, and we've got 30 minutes to answer your questions. So do keep your questions coming, but I'm going to answer the first one that's come through, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce people's names properly. And if I don't, I'm going to blame my accent. So this is Ashwara, and you have asked, will clinical placements be paid? Now, we pay our clinical providers to give you placements. So the placements are paid for by the university. Are you paid for being on clinical placement? No, you are not at this stage. So you attend clinical placement as a learning activity in the same way that you attend university, but you are not paying for them. We are paying for the clinical placement as part of the subject that it sits in. So I hope that's clear, and thanks for that question. Maddie, can you answer the next one from Natalie there?
Yeah, of course. I might delve into what MUPS is a little bit more. So it's a not-for-profit organization, and it's run by a committee of students. So there's 10 students, and we're divided up into 4 different categories. So we have a social events category, an education, an international, and an inclusion, diversity, and welfare. So throughout those 4 categories, we have events throughout the year. Our main ones are the educational. We have an absolutely fantastic team. They're truly amazing. And these events aim to either deepen the learning that we get through the course or to broaden our understanding. The classic example is that we had the Melbourne Animal Physiotherapy company come along and do an event with us, because that's something that we want to find out about, and that's something that MUPS can help us learn about. Or we can get in incredible expertise physiotherapists with doctorates, and we can learn very in-depth things about the shoulder to actually enhance our knowledge about the course. So that's the education side. And then social as well. I do really encourage you to have a look on Instagram. We're called MU Physios, or MUPS. You'll see we host a 2-night, a 3-day O camp for first years, which Karen mentioned before. We have our annual ball, which has got 300 people plus. We're doing a sports day this year, which is very exciting. Trivia nights, all these kind of things. And it's very important to keep a good social life throughout these courses, because it is full on, but it's nice to back that up with some good work-life balance as well.
Brilliant, thanks, Maddie. Now the next one's for either of you, and it's from Tiffany, who asked, did you consider other universities such as Monash and La Trobe, and if yes, what made you choose Melbourne other than the job prospects? So taking into account the cost difference of the courses.
I'll take this one. Thank you, Tiffany. I think for me, I also attended this webinar session when I was doing my honors as well. So I think attending this session obviously gave me more information about the course. And Melbourne was definitely my first preference because of the location to the university distance-wise. And also the start of the course and the timings were aligned properly with finishing my honors degree. So it just made more sense for me to apply for Melbourne. But yeah, I didn't consider Monash or La Trobe just because of the timings of when the course started. And also I think for me, looking through the handbook, like I mentioned, it just showed me that Melbourne gave us more opportunities, more connections with the hospitals, and that's what I was more leaning towards. So that's why I chose Melbourne.
Great, thanks, Anusha. I think when you're looking, one of the really important things particularly is to look at the number of clinical hours associated with that programme, because as I say, we really have nearly 1,200 clinical hours, and that's where you do your learning, and I'm sure Anusha and Maddie will agree with me there. All right, so the next one from you now, and I'll take this, which is, what's the difference between standard physiotherapy and a Doctor of Physiotherapy? So, you can undertake what we would call a Bachelor of Physiotherapy, and you can go straight into that from school. You don't need an undergraduate degree. And at the end of a Bachelor in Physiotherapy, which is usually 4 years, you would also be able to register to practice as a physiotherapist in Australia and New Zealand. The Doctor of Physiotherapy, as I say, is a master's degree, so you're required to have an undergraduate degree in the prerequisites that we talked about, and they can be anywhere between 2 and 3 years in length. And generally, they have some extended skills as opposed to the bachelor's degree. So the expectation is that, as I say, you've got an understanding of human anatomy and human physiology, so you can move a little bit faster, more in depth, higher level. You also can register then to practice as a physiotherapist, and if you have a master's degree in Australia, you will be paid a slightly higher rate whilst working in the public health sector for having a master's as well. Do you both end up as physiotherapists? Absolutely, you do. That there's no question about that, but it's really just that bachelor where you can go straight to school with no undergraduate, or do an undergraduate. Maybe you're still thinking about physiotherapy then, and then you can make the move into physio. I hope that answers your question. The next one is, how is the workload and difficulty of the content compared bachelor and honours to a master's, and what do you think the main challenges of the course?
Sure, I'm happy to give this one a go. Thank you for the question. There is a difference between the workload of a bachelor and this course, and as it should. This course is a Doctor of Physiotherapy. It's an extended master's. To get a qualification this high, it needs to come with that extra workload. That being said, the way that the course is structured really supports you. And I think the biggest thing for me, so my undergrad was Bachelor of Biomedical Science at Monash, which was very theory-based. I was in the textbooks every single day, but physiotherapy is very practical, which I particularly love. And even though we still have our lectures, we apply that content almost directly in the form of case studies, or maybe one of us come up as an act out as a patient, and that is how our learning is facilitated. And what do you think the main challenge of the course? Anusha, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I think challenge-wise, it is catching up with the content and ensuring you're not getting overwhelmed or overloaded. But I think if you are able to manage it well, take some time off, and follow the content, and I guess take advice from your peers and your tutors, it should be manageable. Yeah, and we have a lot of support within the faculty, from staff, and to help you with the course if there's any challenges.
Brilliant, great, thank you. This is a question for me, and I'm pretty sure, given that I hold the MMI portfolio, which is, any tips in terms of preparing for the interview when applying? Yes, be yourself. Be your authentic self. Don't be afraid to show what you're interested in, what you like doing, reflect your personality. And that will see you an absolute long way in terms of the multi-mini interviews that we hold. Next one is, which sector of healthcare that our graduates mainly go to after graduation, and what is the graduate employment rate so far? So I think in the last set of surveys that we got, our graduate employment rate was about 98 or 99%. The graduates from the University of Melbourne, about 60% of them will go to private practice. The thing that's different about private practice now from when I joined the programme in 2018 is that private practice no longer looks like a musculoskeletal or sports clinic, but private practice can actually be a gerontology, or it can be a private pediatric or private neurology placement. And a lot of people are now going as NDIS providers as well, which is our National Disability Insurance Scheme. So as I say, the majority, about 60–65% of our graduates move into that space. The others tend to move into the private or public hospital or community health service. Some of them do go on to research also. Thank you for your informative presentation, Madison and Anusha. Tia, I won't be upset that you haven't included me in my informative presentation. That's all right. I'll go and have a cry later. But for now, what would you say are there lots of opportunities for graduate students to get involved on campus? So that's one for you two. And then Tia, you've made up for it because nobody's ever asked me about expanding on my experience entering academia. So I'll come to that one afterwards. But Maddie and Anusha, for now, what can you get into on campus?
Amazing. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, well, first off, this course is very in-person based. Like most lectures are still recorded, but coming out of years of COVID, it is fantastic to be in person, collaborating with all of your peers. And that's where a lot of these opportunities kind of come from. I'm going to talk about Anusha here because I know she's too humble to talk about herself, but there are so many opportunities throughout this course to get involved and expand on your skills and get involved in the community. There's MUPs, and you can take on big roles like being part of the committee, or there's even subcommittee roles, which are quite smaller. There's cohort representatives to support the faculty and build that bridge between student and staff communication. There's the APA, which stands for the Australian Physiotherapy Association, which Anusha is the student chair of. There's the Teddy Bear Hospital as well, which is a fantastic volunteering opportunity that many students get involved in. It's part of the Good Friday appeal. It also happens in August. That's a fantastic committee as well. And there's even other ones that are part of the faculty as well, like there's safer spaces, or there's diversity, equity and inclusion. There's even ones about helping review the course throughout it. So there are so many different opportunities for graduate students to get involved on campus. And they just happen to be all the education ones, but the social, there's even more. So if you're wanting to get involved, this is the place to be because it's very, very good. Yeah.
Brilliant, great, thank you. And for the second part of your question, Tia, I was a cardiothoracic physiotherapist. Was working in intensive care, and I had students come to me, so I was their clinical supervisor, and I just really loved being a clinical supervisor. I loved having students and I loved teaching. So that was the way that I decided I wanted to make a move into academia. And what happens with a lot of clinicians is that they tend to dip their toe into academia by working part-time in their clinical roles and part-time at the university. And that's great because it keeps their skills and their experience really relevant, and then it allows them to make that transition to the university. My transition to university full-time was actually to La Trobe. So I was at the physiotherapy program at La Trobe for 16 years. And I've been there for a couple of years when I started to study my PhD. And so I completed my PhD and did what I think a lot of academics do then, is they sort of start off at a lecturer and senior lecturer, you know, an associate professor, and decide if they're going to be researchers or teaching specialists. So I've got my foot in camp. In each camp, I do some education research, and as I say, I'm the coordinator for this course and the director of teaching and learning. So that's how I moved in, and I think that's a pretty standard sort of pathway for clinicians who are interested. They often start off because they have students in hospital or practice with them. And I think that maybe answers a little bit about the next question, which is, you know, what are the career progression prospects or pathways like after practicing clinically for a few years? So I think after practicing clinically for a few years, you've probably done that sort of basic rotation in a public hospital or private hospital, or you spent enough time in the private or sector, community sector, to have an idea about where you want to specialise. As I said to Tia, you might choose then to do some teaching. You might want to do a higher degree research, a master's by research or a PhD, or you might decide that you want to get some extra specialist training, for example, musculoskeletal or sports training or MNIPS or women's health or pediatric. So you can go on and become a titled physiotherapist with specialist training. Tiffany, would this course help and provide information about going into private practice? Are there any connections with getting into private practice? I'm sure Maddie and Anusha will have experience of that, but we will almost definitely set you up on a placement in private practice. And as I say, if it was something you were really keen to do, you could choose extension modules in that area and choose that as your career selective. So yeah, lots of opportunities. We have lots of private practitioners come and teach into the program and share their experiences of running their own business as well as treating the patients in it. So lots of connections are made. Did you want to add anything to that at all?
I'd just like to add, like through MUPS as well, we have the DPT and Beyond event, where we invite private practice physiotherapists, and this is a great opportunity as well for students to network and meet them and know more about the private practice career as well. So there are lots of opportunities, and even through the health and leadership the subjects we do in final year, we have private practice speakers come in and talk about their roles and their private practice business, and also I think this course has great opportunities to know more about the information.
Great. Okay, we're on to Ching, who says, is it advisable or necessary for students who have completed prerequisite subjects in human anatomy and physiology to further build background knowledge in kinesiology and biomechanics prior to the DPT programme? Ching, all knowledge is good knowledge, isn't it? But no is the answer. You don't need to do anything further. We have, as I say, people coming from arts backgrounds, people coming from business, from finance, from accounting, from architecture. So they have just come with the prerequisites in human anatomy and human physiology, and we expect those because that part of the program is fairly pacey. It moves quickly, and you know, we really expect you to have a good grounding in those. But everything else we will teach you. Everything else that you need to know, we will teach you. My dear Nusha, have you got anything further there?
Yeah, sure. So I did biomed as my undergrad, and it was just one subject on anatomy and one subject on physiology. So I felt very unequipped going into this course, but they teach it all to you. And there's a lot of content, but in first year, it's done really, really well. And you even get to go into the anatomy labs with cadavers and really understand the anatomy, and that translates into the biomechanics. And that being said, everyone needs, like as Karen said, all knowledge is good knowledge, and every physio needs a foundation of anatomy. But to be a good physio, that you need your communication skills and the building the connections with people, and that's what's going to make a big difference to you in your career.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Maddie. I mean, like, you know, lots of our students undertake work, of course, when they're studying, and that work doesn't need to be you know, physiotherapy related. It could be in retail and hospitality. So they're all great skills, you know, that you can bring. It's not just the technical skills, it's the non-technical skills like empathy and communication, teamwork, collaboration. All of those sorts of things are really important knowledges and skills too. Yufi is asking, how is the clinical placements allocated, and are they guaranteed placements allocated based on students' preferences, or do students need to apply? So what we do, Yufi, is we ask people what their preference is for a clinical school. So our clinical schools are Melbourne Health, Western Health, St Vincent's and Austin Health. So you would be allocated to a clinical school. And when you're allocated to a clinical school, that means you'll definitely get placements at that clinical school, but it also means you'll have to go other places. And the reason is not every clinical school can meet the demands of your training needs. So for example, some might not have pediatrics or women's health. And so we do make sure that you get placements in other places. And we do our best to consider, for example, where you live and if you've got a car and those sorts of things. So you don't need to apply for those. Those are all organised for you. And as I said before, it's highly likely that you'll undertake a rural placement as well at some point in the programme. Now, Alyssa has said, thanks for the insights into the programme. Given the variety of specialisations in practice, do you feel like the placements have enabled you to gain an idea of what most are like and helped you and helped inform your interest for the career selective placement? Great question.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think, yeah, definitely having a variety of placements has been great. I've done most of my placements within the hospital setting, and I think that's where I would like to go into. And as a new graduate, you get to have that rotation job, and where you get to experience like in different settings within the hospital, and I think that's where it's leaning me towards. But I think in terms of career selective, I would most likely go into either an acute or subacute setting, and yeah, I guess just gain more experience over there. But Maddie, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah. Well, I've had quite a diverse placement experience. Every single placement has been different in a different setting with different people, and I've loved it. And I do strongly believe that going on placement isn't necessarily about finding the thing that you absolutely love. Sometimes it can be as simple as finding out that you're not interested in something. Like you might go on a hospital placement and be like, hey, you know what? Like, I appreciate this, but I actually think private practice might be more suited to my lifestyle and my values and my goals. And that's part of it as well. But I think the ones that I've had have been absolutely fantastic. And I've learnt things that I wouldn't have learnt if I didn't go on them and I didn't go to these amazing places. Like my clinical school was St Vincent's. And if I hadn't have gone to St Vincent's, I wouldn't have the same knowledge that I have today, and I wouldn't be the same person. And this has definitely helped inform me of my interests of the career selective as well. But yeah, all in all, just go with what your gut says.
Great, thank you. Now, I can see that the questions have dried up a bit, and that's fine because we've just got 5 more minutes. And so what I'm going to do is ask our panel, myself included, but I'm going to start with Maddie and Anusha, if they've got any final thoughts, comments, or advice for those attending today. Maddie, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, thanks, Garrett. No, I did kind of talk about it first. Oh, we've had another question pop through. Do we want to do?
Yes, so okay, well done, lucky last, Arian. Hey, lovely presentation, thank you, you've learned a lot, great. Have either of you had experience working as an allied health assistant, and did you find that it was helpful while studying? Great question.
Amazing. Yes, I have worked as an allied health assistant. So in first year, I was a nursing allied health assistant at Alfred. And I just did that for a couple of months as a casual, so not too many shifts, but it was very good for me to learn the basics. But it wasn't something that I found sustainable with my own values. But now I'm still currently working as an allied health assistant, but within the private practice, which is really good for me because while I'm interested in going into the hospital setting, I think it's still good to have a broad skill set. So I have one client that I see once a week just for an hour and a half, and it's fantastic. They're a stroke survivor, and it's a very like I go to these sessions and I feel invigorated. I feel like I'm making a difference in this person's life. And it definitely has helped me while studying, if that's what you're interested in. But that being said, placement gives you everything you need. So my advice would be, if you think that you want to do it, go do it. But I don't think it's necessary because you're going to learn the skills anyway.
Great, thank you. Anusha, any parting comments?
Yeah, I think my final suggestions and comments are look through the course, do a bit more research before applying. And over the last few weeks, I've just learned physiotherapy is a very diverse career, lots of opportunities in different stages. You can work with lots of different people, lots of different options as well. So I think sky's the limit here. So definitely research your options and really think about what you like as a person and what you want to do as well. But yeah, those are the fun.
Maddie, anything parting from you? Word of wisdom?
Yeah, I know that this feels like a big decision, but if you're deciding to go into healthcare, that's probably the one decision that you need to make. Healthcare is fluid. You can be registered as a physiotherapist, doing management, doing academia, working on projects, doing research. And I think part of it is just taking that leap. And once you start, you just keep going. And, who knows, in 4 years' time, you might be on this webinar doing this presentation. I never thought that it would have been me. So just give it a go.
Great, thank you. And for me, I think having had a long career in physiotherapy, as a practitioner, as a academic, as a researcher, as a leader now in the program, I think the thing that I have enjoyed most is that incredible diversity that comes with this career. I've demonstrated that. I've been a practitioner, I've been an educator. So, and as you can hear from my accent, I'm not from Australia, so I love the portability of this degree. I trained in the UK and was able to come to Australia, so that's been very good as well. I think the thing that I also have loved is the privilege that comes with this job of working with people. And you learn a lot at university, but heck, you really learn when you're with your patients. They're the ones that really teach you things. So that's an incredibly privileged job to be able to go and do every single day. And I think the final thing is, and it's really sort of key to wanting to be a physiotherapist, is that you work with lots of different people all of the time. You're continually collaborating, you're learning from, you're learning with, and people within physiotherapy. And of course, we're part of a multidisciplinary team, so it could be allied health, nursing, medicine. So that's also a really lovely aspect of it as well. So that's the final comments that I would have for you. We landed bang on time, so I want on your behalf to thank Maddie and Anusha for a really interesting and insightful presentation. I know, as I say, they're always the best part of this hour, so thank you both very much. And I'd like to thank you for attending and for all those really great questions. And we hope that we will see you in person next year once you join the programme. But in the meantime, I'll wish you a lovely evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you're from. And that's the end of our presentation today. And as I say, you will receive a link to the recording, and you can go back and look at any of the slides or review any of the information then. So thank you very much, and night.